Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into what seems like a classic haunted house story, but we're actually going to flip the script entirely. We're going to bypass the usual stuff, the teenage ghost hunter sneaking in at midnight, and instead, we're going to uncover the truly horrific story of the unfortunate souls who actually built the Weimar estate. Because as we'll see, behind every haunted house, there is a blueprint of very real human misery.
Right off the bat, imagine hearing a doctor say this. This incredibly chilling quote comes directly from Dr. Davis, the physician who had just diagnosed the extremely wealthy Mr. Weimar with rapid terminal bone cancer. Even the doctor, a man literally sworn to save lives, felt this inexplicable, profound relief at the impending death of his patient. And honestly, this diagnosis, it's the spark that sets our entire nightmare into motion.
Because here's the thing. Weimar didn't just accept his fate. Actually, scratch that. He didn't just accept it. He weaponized his impending death. He used his vast wealth to exploit desperate, vulnerable creators and artisans to build a massive, trap-filled labyrinth beneath his estate. He absolutely did not just want a tomb. He wanted a machine.
So, the crucial question we really have to ask ourselves in this explainer is, who actually suffered to bring this architectural monstrosity to life? We always focus so heavily on the victims who walk into a haunted house, right? But what about the unfortunate souls who were paid to build it?
This right here perfectly illustrates our blueprint of torment. It tracks exactly what each doomed craftsman sacrificed to complete Weimar's twisted vision. From crushed fingers to total mental collapse, the price of admission to Weimar's payroll was nothing short of complete devastation. We're going to walk through what happened to each of these poor artisans today.
Let's start with part 1, the architect of suffering. Think about this absolute contrast. When Weimar was handed a painful terminal diagnosis, he wasn't sad. He was literally, in the words of his doctor, happy, thrilled. It perfectly captures his cruelty, doesn't it? He found this malicious joy in his own death sentence because he already had his terrible plan in motion. Meanwhile, everyone in his orbit, his doctor, his nurses, his hired artisans, they all just sank into despair and madness simply from being near him.
Fast forward decades later, and a teenager named Winston sneaks into the house to find his missing friend Gabby. His timeline traces a terrifying descent, literally floor by floor, down into the estate. And with every single step he takes, he's interacting directly with the tortured artwork of a different ruined artisan. Moving on to part 2, carved by broken hands.
This brings us to our first craftsman, Jeffrey. Now, Jeffrey was an aging stonemason who couldn't work anymore because his fingers had been crushed in a terrible accident. But Weimar sought him out specifically, offering him life-changing money for one last job, carving this massive marble tombstone with cryptic foreign poetry. The absolute wildest part? Weimar pre-supplied his own exact date of death. Jeffrey literally bled for this project. With mangled hands, every missed strike of that heavy hammer brought him excruciating physical agony. He shattered his own body just to secure his family's financial future.
Part 3, bronze, paints, and paranoia. To lock the basement door, Weimar hired a local sculptor named Melanie Smythe. She built these 3 heavy, deeply disturbing bronze monkey statues that operated as mechanical locks. But the bizarre, garish nature of the work triggered a total psychotic break in her. She was eventually found wandering the streets at night and ended up in an asylum, endlessly repeating a foreign phrase she didn't even speak. The translation? Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
The rapid mental deterioration she suffered inside that asylum took only a matter of hours. Just look at the asylum notes from the very next day, showing a slip in her mantra: hear no evil, see evil, speak no evil. The psychological darkness of Weimar's commission was actively overwriting her brain. It's just horrifying.
And the chilling conclusion of her medical file reveals her absolute total descent into madness. The asylum staff didn't write this final report. This is Melanie losing her identity entirely to Weimar's trap. Her mind was completely consumed by the very mechanism she built.
Next, Winston descends into what's known as the anger room. It's a pitch-black space that suddenly illuminates with these grotesque, condescending, painted faces that literally laugh at him. Well, the nameless painter who created those mocking faces was so traumatized by his own commission that he fled to rural isolation. He claimed the painted faces followed him everywhere, constantly badgering and shaming him. His art was so cursed that even highly superstitious sailors point-blank refused to load the crates onto their ships. No way.
Which takes us deeper underground. Part 4,
Locks of blood and sound.
So, Winston then encounters a massive steel door that violently clamps down on his hand. Why? Because it requires fresh human blood to complete an electrical circuit to open. The tragic irony here is just profound. The engineer who designed this, Zamir, was dying of terminal blood cancer. He spent the painful final days of his fading life engineering a door that violently harvests blood from its victims, all just to leave some money for his wife and kids. Weimer literally weaponized Zamir's dying breath.
Beyond that blood door lies a claustrophobic maze filled with dense fog and the horrific, raw sounds of weeping women, children, and broken men. This was the dark work of Dr. Stevenson. He was a pioneer in acoustic theory who figured out how to capture literal human grief and suspend it in fog. But successfully trapping the sounds of raw human suffering to fill Weimer's maze, it completely destroyed him. It drove the doctor to destroy all his life's research and take his own life.
Down to the very bottom now. Part 5. Digging the Devil's Grave.
9. That is the exact number of fingers the gravedigger, Joel, had left after excavating Weimer's subterranean burial site and labyrinth. He lost a finger to the job, took his massive payout, and immediately fled to Georgia to pay off his gambling debts. But he was forever burdened by the heavy, unshakable knowledge that he had quite literally done the devil's work.
Finally, Part 6. The True Cost of Admission.
So, after hearing all of this, why did Weimer orchestrate all of this suffering? What was the point of destroying the lives of stonemasons, painters, doctors, and engineers? Well, it was all an incredibly elaborate snare. Step 1. Use his vast wealth to force broken artisans to build an inescapable labyrinth. Step 2. Succumb to his bone cancer and be buried deep within the trap. And Step 3. Wait in the dark. Everything we just explored, the crushed fingers, the madness, the suicides, was merely preparation for his ultimate goal. He was waiting for an unwary, healthy victim to survive the maze so his spirit could claim their body. In this specific case, the teenage girl Gabby, who managed to bypass the horrors by falling straight down a chute to the bottom.
Weimer didn't just hire contractors, guys. He systematically consumed them. Just look at the horrific scope of his workforce. 33% sacrificed their physical bodies, like Jeffrey and Joel, 33% lost their minds, like Melanie and the painter, and 34% surrendered their very souls, like Zamir and Stevenson. The house isn't just built by them, it is literally built out of their collective ruin.
And this brings us to the terrifying climax. Winston reaches the bottom just in time to see his friend Gabby standing strangely in the moonlight. She's reciting the cursed poem that Jeffrey had carved with his broken hands all those decades ago. And as she turns to smile at him, a diamond sparkles in her tooth, Weimer's signature gold and diamond tooth. Gabby's horrifying new reality is that Weimer's spirit has completely taken over her body. The trap worked perfectly. Weimer actually achieved his twisted version of immortality, but he didn't do it alone. He bought it with the blood, the sanity, and the lives of desperate working people. Knowing the long trail of crushed fingers, madness, and suicide left in his wake, it leaves us with one chilling final thought to ponder today. What would you be willing to sacrifice for immortality? Especially if the sacrifice wasn't yours, but someone else's. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.